John had always wanted to be a father. His life was full of love and care for children, but he had never imagined it would come in the form of fostering a child. For years he had dreamed of raising a family, and when he heard about the foster care system, he knew he could help a child in need. Little did he know that fostering one child would change his life forever. When Lily first came into John's life, she was only 5 years old. She had been through so much in her short life, moving from one foster home to another, never really having a place to call home. She had experienced loss, fear, and sadness, and it showed in her eyes. She was quiet, reserved, and unsure of the people around her. John understood her hesitance, and he made sure to approach her gently. He knew that trust had to be earned, not given, so every day he showed her patience and kindness. At first, their connection wasn't immediate. Lily would sit quietly in her room, avoiding eye contact and rarely speaking. John never pushed her, but he made sure she knew she was safe with him. Every morning, he would make her favorite breakfast, and every night he would read her a bedtime story. Slowly, she started to open up. Her smile, once rare, began to appear more often. John had always been a patient man, but the first time he saw that smile, he knew he was doing something right. As the years passed, Lily's trust in John grew. She began to see him not just as a foster father, but as someone she could rely on. Whenever she was hurt, whether it was from a fall at school or the pain of being teased by her classmates, John was there to comfort her. He wasn't just taking care of her physical needs. He was offering her something deeper, emotional support and security. John worked hard to make sure Lily felt like she truly belonged. He did everything he could to create a stable and loving environment. He attended all her school events, made sure she had everything she needed, and celebrated her successes no matter how small. Lily's confidence grew as she realized that John wasn't going anywhere. He had become more than just a caretaker. He was her protector, her guide, and her role model. Lily's teenage years were filled with challenges, as they are for most young people. She faced the usual struggles, friendships, schoolwork, and the desire for independence. But throughout it all, John was there. When Lily had trouble with her friends, John listened. When she was uncertain about her future, John encouraged her. He wasn't just a father figure. He was someone who truly understood her. And though there were times when she pulled away, John knew it wasn't because she didn't love him. It was part of growing up. As the years went by, John began to realize that he wanted something more for Lily. He didn't just want to be her foster father. He wanted to make her his daughter, legally and forever. He had seen so many children come and go, but Lily was different. She had become a part of him. In his heart, she was already his daughter, but he knew that adoption wasn't something that could be forced. Lily had to be ready for it. John never pressured Lily about adoption. He knew that her past had made her wary of change, and the idea of being officially adopted meant something permanent. Lily had been through so much instability in her life, and John understood that committing to a permanent family might be a frightening idea for her. But he had hope. He knew that over time she would see that he wasn't going anywhere. He was there for the long haul. While Lily was still unsure about adoption, she began to feel a sense of belonging that she had never known before. The idea of a family had become more than just a word. It had become a reality. John had created a home for her. Not just a place to live, but a place where she felt loved and accepted for who she was. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was truly part of something. And with each passing day, she grew more certain that John was the father she had always needed. But Lily wasn't ready to take that final step just yet. She needed time. Adoption wasn't something she could just decide on a whim. It was a huge decision, and she wasn't sure if she was ready to make it. But John knew that the journey they had been on together, built on trust, love, and patience, would eventually lead to that moment. He just had to wait, continue being the father she needed, and give her the space she needed to make that choice. John's journey as a father was not always easy, but it was filled with moments of pure love and joy. His role as a foster parent had evolved into something far greater than he could have imagined. What started as a simple act of kindness turned into the most rewarding journey of his life. It wasn't just about giving Lily a home. It was about giving her a chance to thrive, to be loved, and to have a future full of possibilities. And as they moved forward, John knew that the bond they shared could never be broken. No matter what happened next, Lily would always be his daughter in his heart. On the day of the adoption hearing, the courtroom felt almost like another world to Lily. She had been through so much, but this moment, standing before a judge and her foster father, seemed different. The walls of the courtroom were lined with serious faces, each person with a role to play. Lawyers, social workers, and even strangers who had been part of her journey were all there. But for Lily, this moment wasn't just about paperwork or formalities. It was about a decision that would change her life forever. John sat beside her, a steady presence as calm as he had been every day she had known him. His eyes were focused on the judge, but every so often they would turn to her. She could feel the weight of his gaze, a silent reminder of how far they had come. It wasn't just about adoption. It was about their bond, built over years of shared memories and mutual trust. Lily knew she had something important to say, but the thought of speaking in front of the judge, in front of all these people, made her stomach churn. Still, she couldn't ignore the truth inside her. This was her moment to say what was in her heart. The judge, an older man with a kind but firm face, turned to her. "Do you have anything you'd like to say, Lily?" His voice was soft, almost as if he understood the significance of what this moment meant for her. Lily's breath caught in her throat. She had rehearsed this moment in her mind 1,000 times, but now that it was real, the words seemed to freeze in her chest. She looked up at John, who gave her a small, reassuring smile. His presence comforted her, as it always had. She didn't have to explain herself to him, he already knew her. He had been with her through every tough time, every challenge, and every victory. But this time it wasn't about him understanding her. It was about her finding the courage to speak her truth. Lily swallowed, feeling the nervousness leave her body. She turned to the judge, took a deep breath, and let the words spill out before she could second-guess herself. "I want him to be my dad. Not just because of this hearing, not just because of the papers, but because he's the only father I've ever known. He's been there for me when no one else was. He's the reason I have hope, and I know deep down that this is where I belong." The courtroom fell silent. It was as if the air had thickened and time itself had slowed down. Lily's heart raced, her hands trembling in her lap, but the weight of her words seemed to settle around her, giving her a sense of peace she hadn't felt before. She wasn't just saying these words out of obligation or to please anyone. She was speaking from the core of her being, telling the truth she had held inside for so long. She was ready to be his daughter, to make the bond they had always shared official. John's eyes softened as he heard her words. In that moment he realized that this wasn't just about legal paperwork. It wasn't just about signing adoption papers. It was about Lily taking a leap of faith and saying, "I trust you. I choose you." For John, those words were everything. They were the culmination of years of love, patience, and understanding. It wasn't easy being a foster parent, but it was always worth it because it brought him to this very moment. This moment where Lily finally understood what he had known for so long, that they were family no matter what the world said. The judge, visibly moved, cleared his throat. He had seen countless cases of adoption, but this one felt different. There was something raw and powerful in Lily's words. He looked at both of them for a long moment, his eyes scanning their faces. "It is clear to me that you have built a strong, loving bond," he said, his voice steady. "It is my honor to grant this adoption. From this day forward, you will be father and daughter, and I hope your journey together continues to be as strong as it has been." Tears welled up in John's eyes as the judge spoke. It wasn't just a legal formality. It was the recognition of something beautiful and irreplaceable, the bond between a father and his daughter. This was the moment he had waited for, the moment when he knew that his love and commitment to Lily had finally been acknowledged. He reached over and gently squeezed her hand. For the first time in years, Lily felt like she truly belonged, not just to a home, but to a family. As they walked out of the courtroom together, side by side, the weight of the moment began to sink in. It wasn't just the legal papers that had changed their lives. It was the understanding that this was the beginning of something lasting. No longer would Lily have to worry about moving from place to place. No longer would she feel like she was just a foster child. She had a father, and more than that, she had a family. The world outside the courtroom may have been bustling with its usual chaos, but for Lily and John, it felt like time had stopped. They were no longer two separate people. They were a unit, a family bound by love, trust, and a commitment that would last forever. As they left the courthouse, the world outside seemed different to Lily. The streets were the same, the cars zooming by and the people bustling along, But for the first time in her life, she felt truly at home. She wasn't just walking with her foster father anymore. She was walking with her dad. The weight of that realization settled in her chest like a warm, comforting embrace. This wasn't just a formality. This was a new beginning. John could sense the change in the air, too. Though the words had been spoken and the papers signed, it was still sinking in for both of them. For years, John had been hoping for this moment, working to build a foundation of love and trust with Lily. And now that it was real, it felt like a dream. It wasn't just the end of a foster care chapter. It was the start of a new family, a bond stronger than anything he could have hoped for. As they walked together toward the car, John could hardly contain his emotions. He had always been the strong one, the steady presence in their home, but now his heart swelled with pride and love. He turned to Lily, giving her a small smile. She met his gaze and, without a word, slipped her hand into his. It was a small gesture, but it meant the world to him. They had always shared a deep connection, but now that connection felt permanent, unshakable. In the days that followed, their lives slowly began to change. John's home, once filled with quiet routine and the occasional moment of tension, became a place where laughter echoed through the rooms, where the mundane felt special simply because they were together. John didn't have to remind Lily to help with the chores or make sure she finished her homework. She did it willingly, with a sense of belonging that she had never experienced before. There was no longer any uncertainty. There was no fear of being left behind. She knew now that no matter what, she had a place in this world with him. For Lily, the transition from foster child to daughter was subtle, yet profound. At first, it was small things. Calling John Dad instead of Mr. John or just John felt strange, but every time she said it, it felt more natural. They began to plan for the future together, in ways they never had before. What had once been an uncertain road full of unknowns was now filled with possibility. Lily dreamed of her future in a way she hadn't before, knowing that she had a father who would always support her. John dreamed too, not just of his own future, but of the future they would build together as a family. The first family dinner they had after the adoption was simple, yet extraordinary. They sat at the kitchen table, just the two of them. John had prepared her favorite meal, spaghetti with marinara sauce, and they shared it quietly with a comfortable peace. No words were needed. Everything felt right. There was no rush to get through the meal, no hurry to leave the table. For the first time, John felt like a real father, and Lily felt like a real daughter. It wasn't just about the legal papers. It was about the love and connection they had fought for. And finally, it had been acknowledged. The true turning point came a few days later when Lily came to him, holding a piece of paper in her hand. It was an assignment from school, a family tree project where she had to fill out details about her parents, her family. She had struggled with the project for a while, unsure of how to approach it, but now, with the adoption finalized, she was able to fill out the tree with confidence. She proudly wrote Dad next to John's name, and when she showed him, she could see the pride in his eyes. For the first time in her life, she wasn't ashamed of her past. She had a family now, a real family. John, too, began to make plans for their future in a way he had never done before. The idea of family vacations, holiday traditions, and even small weekend outings began to feel like things they could truly look forward to. He found himself looking at houses with more than just a passing interest. He was imagining their future together. He made small adjustments in his daily life to make sure he was there for Lily when she needed him, whether it was helping with schoolwork or just spending time together watching movies. The future was no longer just about getting through the days. It was about creating something lasting, something beautiful. As the weeks passed, Lily's confidence continued to grow. She became more engaged in school, more open with her friends, and more comfortable in her own skin. She no longer felt like she was drifting through life waiting for something to change. Now everything was different. She had someone who would always be there, someone who had chosen her not because he had to, but because he truly wanted to. And that realization gave her the strength to face whatever came next. The transformation in their relationship didn't happen overnight. It took time, effort, and patience. But every day they built their bond a little stronger. John and Lily had not just signed adoption papers, they had solidified their place in each other's lives forever. And that, more than anything, was the real miracle. This was no longer about the system, about paperwork, or about titles. It was about love, deep, unshakable love. And for both of them, that was enough. It was all they ever needed. Now they were a family and nothing would ever change that.